What if you are over 40? You have been lifting or doing any kinds of sports for a long time, but you want to get into the best shape of your life. You think that you have to lift heavy weights in order to build muscle. You want to pack on size, you want to see your muscles pop through your shirt, you want to see definition when you get lean because your muscles have the proper size. But for some reason, you've gotten a tad older and you think that lifting heavy will cause you to have joint issues, or you have been lifting for a long time, you have been on a heavy duty program that requires you to lift heavy weights, and your joints aren't agreeing with the things you are doing. What should you do in that situation? Well, my dear friends, the first thing you should know is that in order to stimulate optimal hypertrophy on a per set basis, you have a very wide rep range that you can train in. In fact, as long as you are training close to failure, meaning at least beyond leaving 2 reps in the tank, so that means that you end your set with 2 reps in the tank or less, you will experience optimal hypertrophy between the 5 and 35 rep range. Now, obviously, fives are pretty heavy, and on some exercises can beat you up. They're not ideal for isolation exercises, whereas 35 or at least anything beyond 25 may be a little too demanding from a metabolic point of view. You will simply be gassed out, the burn will be insane, so we will have to find a sweet spot. What I recommend for most people who are above 40 and have joint issues, if you don't have joint issues, this isn't a problem for you. But if you have joint issues or want to spare your joints, then I highly suggest that you train within the 8 to 15 rep range. The 8 to 15 rep range still allows you to experience a practical rep range for you to lift moderately heavy, apply progressive overload, and have the best of both worlds of strength and endurance, whilst not feeling extreme muscular burn that will make you nauseous. And if anybody of you have tried a 20 rep squatting program, you know exactly what I mean. I personally love training with low reps because I perform a bit of neurological strength work. I like lifting heavy weights because I like to be strong and like to master the skill of lifting at near maximum weights, lifting for 1 rep maxes. But quite honestly, if your goal is to just look fantastic and build muscle, you don't have to lift near maximum weights. In fact, you can get away with lifting moderately heavy weights or even light weights for that matter. But from a practical point of view, like I said, if you go too heavy, meaning that you train under 4 reps, you will not stimulate maximum hypertrophy on a per set basis. You will have to perform more sets of low heavy rep sets in order to trigger enough training volume and stimulate training growth for optimal growth to occur on a per session basis. Whereas if you train starting from 5 reps, training close to failure, all the way up to 35 reps per set, you will stimulate optimal muscle growth on a per set basis, which means that you will have to perform less sets in order to trigger optimal muscle growth compared to somebody who is doing reps below 4 per set, even as if those sets are performed close to failure or to failure. And if you go above 20 reps, for example, I challenge you to do that just to know what it feels like. It is extremely taxing on a cardiovascular level. You will be gassed out, especially if you do heavy exercises, big exercises such as squats or deadlifts. And I do not recommend that because actually lifting very light weights for extremely high reps will actually be as bad for injury as lifting very heavy weights. In fact, I dare to say that lifting very heavy weights is actually much safer than lifting very light weights for extremely high reps. And I can guarantee you, not only will your cardiovascular system be challenged, you will experience a muscle burn, a lactic acid buildup like never before, and you will feel sore for days beyond your training. And like I said, it's not that you won't build muscle with very high reps, up to 35 that is, but you will simply be beaten down, you will be worn out, and it's simply not worth doing that. The key is to train in a practical rep range. For people who don't have any issues, I always recommend training between 5 to 15 reps depending on the exercise. For compound lifts, I recommend training between 5 and 12 reps. And for isolation lifts, I recommend training between 8 and 15, or for some muscle groups such as shoulders, lateral raises, for example, I even recommend all the way up to 20 reps. And this is especially true if you are getting stronger. Like I said, guys, even if you don't have joint issues right now, I always recommend for beginning lifters to train between 5 and 10 reps for big exercises, because that has a great neurological aspect to it and a muscular aspect to it. That means that not only will your muscles be challenged, get bigger, and be stimulated for growth, your neuromuscular system, your central nervous system will also be stimulated and will be highly efficient at lifting heavy weights, recruiting more muscle fibers, and producing a lot of central nervous force, which will make you better at lifting heavy weights. However, as you get more experienced and as you get stronger, lifting heavy weights all the time will wear you out. And that is why I think that I've experienced this myself. I have coached people who also report the same things. Lifting between 8 and 15 reps for your joints when you are at an advanced level, they spare your joints. This joint friendly. Your muscles get a great stimulation. You can still lift heavy weights just for higher reps. Those will be moderately heavy weights, obviously. And you will spare your joints while building muscle in an optimal fashion on a per set basis. You've got best of both worlds. And one of the training styles that I absolutely love is a max effort method, which means that each and every training session or a couple of training sessions per week for your major lifts, for example, the bench press, the squat, the weighted chin up, the overhead press, and the deadlift, in my case, I work up to a training max that is not necessarily a true 1 rep max, but very heavy weight, near maximum weight that I lift smoothly. Usually that is a 2 rep max that I lift for 1 rep for single. That allows me to build and maintain my neuromuscular efficiency and teaches me the skill, makes me good at lifting near maximum weights, and makes me efficient if I want to lift in 1 rep max as well. And I follow that up by 3 to 5 sets depending on how much volume I'm doing, which phase I am in, of hypertrophy work, usually between 6 to 12 reps for my compound lift and 8 to 15 reps for my isolation lifts. But in general, I'd say between 6 and 15. Sometimes for my squats, I go up to higher reps as well. And this works fantastic if you are somebody who has joint issues. Like I said, between 8 and 15 reps will be optimal for you. But even if you don't have joint issues, as you get stronger, you should also work in a way that prevents injury in the future. If you are able to lift very heavy weights, simply move up to a moderate heavy rep range that allows you to build muscle in an optimal fashion but spares your joints. So there is absolutely no excuse why you shouldn't be able to build muscle, to build your dream physique. The 8 to 15 rep range is where it's at if you want to spare your joints. So people over 40 or anybody with joint issues, give it a try. Thank me later. Thank you.